What is going on, everybody? It is Deep Shot Garry. Welcome to episode 6 of CFB Only with Deep Shot Garry. Thanks for being back with me. I know last week I wasn't here. I was working on, if you follow the Instagram account, you've been seeing the Snack Madness we got going on in honor of March Madness. So, was working on that all last Tuesday to get it up. It's been very successful. Make sure you follow us if you haven't already. But we've got a big show coming up today. We're going to talk about top 10 Heisman seasons, some of the best Heisman seasons of all times. I've got a 1 through 10 list that I'm sure everyone is going to agree with. And then from there, we're going to talk about Tennessee and Miami's schedules. We're going to go through their entire schedules, talk about all of that. And then I'm going to give us some thoughts on Nebraska, the Nebraska football team as a whole, the program as a whole. A lot of blue blood talk about them. I went and did some research about where, what they used to be, where they're going to be with Matt Rule. Just got to get a take out there. I've been talking about them for a couple weeks on here. And then to finish it up, I've got teams that I wish were good at college football. It kind of just made me think, watching this March Madness, watching college basketball, what if some of these teams that we're seeing in the Sweet 16 were good at football? How would that be? We're going to talk about all of that. So before we do that, again, just make sure you guys give me a follow on Instagram and TikTok. Climbing the ladder, trying to get to 4,000 here soon, 5,000 before college football season on Instagram, on TikTok. We're just doing as much as we can. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube here. Thank you again. Really appreciate all of your help. All right, and now, sorry for the interruption there. But now we're going to go ahead and get into the first topic of the show, top 10 Heisman seasons in college football history. We'll say that, right? College football, these are 10 to 1. I'm going to start, right? I'm going to give you the list here in a second, but when you look at every season we've had from, and I did throw some old classics ones in here. I thought about maybe just doing from 2000 on, but I just felt like I needed to throw in some of the oldies, and one of the best ones is one of the oldies, maybe the best one. So, we've had some really incredible seasons from Heisman Trophy winners. I want to highlight that here. We got to find things to talk about in the offseason, so here we go. Here is the list that I'm sure everyone agrees with as they're looking at it right now in front of me. I'm going to go 10 to 1 on here. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see it. If you're listening on podcast, please pay attention. Here we go. At number 10, I got Reggie Bush. Reggie Bush won the Heisman in 2005. His total yardage, 1,658 rushing yards, 15 rushing touchdowns, was really good at the backfield, added another couple hundred, another couple touchdowns on top of that, was really good at special teams, was just a do-it-all player for a team that won 34 straight college football games. That's right. He was on a USC team that won back-to-back national championships, won 34 straight college football games, and he was pretty much the best player on that team. And they had guys like Matt Leinart. And so that's a lot of people, when you think about what happened to Reggie Bush and how they took the Heisman away from him. I'm not taking the Heisman away from him. It's crazy to think that. I think they gave it back to him now after what happened with all the NIL stuff. But basically, he was doing a lot of NIL before NIL, and they took the Heisman away from him for that. I won't take it away from him. Reggie Bush was one of the elite playmakers back in the 2000s. The best running back of the 2000s. If we go in 2000 to 2010, is Reggie Bush the best running back of that era? I think you'd have a really good argument for that. Again, he touched the ball. The other team held their breath. Reggie Bush at number 10. Number 9, I got Baker Mayfield, 2017. Just his stats real quick. Threw for 4,340 yards, 41 touchdowns, had a 207.76 passer rating. Maybe that was wrong. No, 203.76 passer rating. That record was broken by the next guy I'll talk about. But he had the top offense in college football. The only thing that keeps Baker Mayfield, and if you're watching on YouTube, you can already see who's next. But if you keeping Baker Mayfield towards the back of the list for one of the really incredible college football quarterback seasons, I got to take into account the defenses he was playing. And, I know when he played Georgia in that at Rose Bowl, he did everything he could, but he couldn't finish the job. And he also, he didn't really have the character trait that a lot of these Heisman Trophy winners have. But he was electric as a player, and he didn't just put up numbers. He broke games. He had crazy games even before he was at Oklahoma. He had those crazy games at Texas Tech. He is part of that game against Texas Tech with Patrick Mahomes where they threw up 1,000 yards each. So I got Baker Mayfield 2017 at number 9. At number 8, I got Kyler Murray 2018. So the year after, back-to-back Oklahoma quarterback winners. Threw for 4,054 yards and 40 touchdowns. On top of that, ran for 892 yards and 11 touchdowns, which really is what put him over Baker for me. A little bit more of a dual-threat quarterback. And again, Baker had the highest passer rating at 203.76. Next year, Kyler Murray, 205.72. Breaks the all-time record a year after his predecessor? I'm not good with the vocabulary, but beats Baker Mayfield's passer rating record. Again, played in the Big 12, and then when he got to the playoffs, didn't do so well against Alabama. So both these guys were number 1 picks, really elite at the quarterback position. Lincoln Riley was pretty much got a job to USC because of those guys. And Kyler Murray was a video game on every single play. And if they had college football 2018, if they had the video game back then, everyone would be using Kyler Murray. All right, number 7, I got Herschel Walker. Herschel Walker won in 1982. Crazy enough, his best season in college football was probably the year before that. He ran for 1,800 yards in 1981. He ran for like 1,600 yards in 1980. And in 1982, he ran for 1,752 yards, totaled 15 touchdowns, undefeated season, got his team to the national championship. Again, came in 3rd in the Heisman as a freshman, came in 2nd in the Heisman as a sophomore, and had a 33 overall record. He wasn't just better than everyone else on the field. He was the strongest dude on the field, probably stronger than most offensive and defensive linemen, anyone on the field. If you haven't watched the Herschel Walker SEC story or storied, check it out. The guy was an absolute dog, and he was, I think when they did the college football 150 years, which I think was in 2019, they did like a 150 list. They had him ranked as 2nd best college football player of all time. So he was different in that era. Number 6, I got Johnny Manziel, 2012 winner. His stats are crazy and just the whole season in general. 3,419 yards to go with 24 passing touchdowns, and then ran for 1,181 yards and 19 touchdowns. That's insane. Pause for a second. That's insane. He changed the trajectory of the Texas A&M football program. I mean, they literally built Kyle Field basically after what he did and all the money he brought in. It was incredible what he did. You have to acknowledge it. Johnny Manziel changed Texas A&M football forever. Now, he didn't probably have the good character traits like I mentioned for Baker Mayfield or maybe for some other Heisman winners in the past, but he was elite on the football field, no doubt about it. Okay, and then you couldn't game plan for Johnny Manziel. He was a lot. You could not game plan for Johnny Manziel. He made a play whenever he needed to. Number 5, I got Tim Tebow in 2007. First sophomore to ever win the award. So before then, it had only been juniors and seniors to ever win the Heisman Trophy. He broke the mold, won it as a sophomore, had 3,132 passing yards and 29 touchdowns, plus 828 rushing yards and 22 rushing touchdowns, which is an SEC season record. And I'm pretty sure he has the most rushing touchdowns in a career for an SEC player as well, and he's a quarterback. 51 total touchdowns in that season. Didn't win a Natty that year, but did end up winning it the year before when he was not the starter, but played a lot, and then won it the year after in 2008. And he was pretty much at the Heisman in 2008. Could have won back-to-back, but he did not. So Tim Tebow basically redefined what a dual-threat quarterback was in college football, and it was incredible to watch if you were growing up on it like I was. And number 4, I got Marcus Allen, 1981, USC running back, first player to ever run for over 2,000 yards. I'll say that again. Marcus Allen was the first player to ever run for over 2,000 yards in college football history. He ran for 200 yards 8 out of the 11 games he played, ran for a total of 2,342 yards, and had 33 touchdowns. Only player to ever win a national championship, Heisman Trophy, Super Bowl MVP, and an NFL MVP. He was getting the ball, and you just had to hope you could stop him. That was basically it. I mean, Marcus Allen was what every running back looked up to after that. And it's crazy. You look at all these rushing stats after, like he doesn't have the most rushing yards now ever, right? Like even Ashton Jeanty broke it a little bit ago. But he was, at that time, that was unheard of. At number 3, I got Cam Newton, 2010. Passed for 2,589 yards and 28 touchdowns. Rushed for another 1,409 yards and 20 touchdowns. 48 total touchdowns, over 4,000 total yards. Undefeated team. The team was on his back. I mean, I don't know if he needs surgery or it didn't really hurt him in the NFL, but his back had to have been cramping for how much he was carrying that team in 2010. Auburn won every single game because of Cam Newton. If you take Cam Newton off of that team in 2010, Auburn may not even make a bowl game. I'm being serious. And I think if you watched football that year, you know what I'm talking about. Number 2, I got Joe Burrow in 2019. 4,715 yards and 48 touchdowns, and then another couple hundred running. So he had over 5,000 total yards. And these are all just regular season stats, by the way. Completed 77% of his passes. Beat 7 top 10 teams in one season. Huge margin of victory in terms of the Heisman voting votes. Like he had some of the, I think it was the biggest win since O.J. Simpson. Notably not on the list. Credit to me. But he won the Natty. He dominated against the best teams in the country week in, week out, and it shows he's still really, really good. And number 1, best Heisman season of all time, I got Barry Sanders. I forgot to write down which season this was. Oh, man, this is bad by me. Bad by me. What season did Barry Sanders win the Heisman? Oh, man, I can't win the Heisman. 1988. Forgot to write. I had them all written down except for that one. Barry Sanders, number 1, won the Heisman in 1988. Ran for 2,628 yards in just 11 games. Unheard of. Ran for a couple hundred more in his bowl game. Averaged 238 yards a game. 37 rushing touchdowns. 3 300-yard games. Without a doubt, one of the best football players ever, not in college and in the NFL. We know what he did for the Detroit Lions. He had historic games each and every week. You have to give him credit for that, and at that time especially. I believe it still is the most yards ever ran for in college football history. Let's fact check that while we're at it. College football, I should have had these things ready to go. College football rushing record season. Yeah, still number 1. Ashton Jeanty got very close. Very close. I think it's 27 yards off. So, crazy. Those are my top 10 Heisman seasons of all time. Let me know what you guys think. All right, next up, we got to talk about Tennessee schedule preview. So I've been doing this on the show this whole time where we talk about different team schedules, kind of go through them, see what we think about these matchups as of right now, as we're in April or March. We're still in March. So we're going to talk about the Tennessee Volunteers. It's their day. And then we're going to talk about another team after in just a second. But we're going to talk about Tennessee first up. When we think about Tennessee, their quarterback situation, they've got a couple that they're rummaging through, so we really don't know who that guy is going to be. Their defense, they're really good in the portal. Josh Heupel, I've made takes, how good is Josh Heupel? Are we really is Tennessee going to be like the Penn State of the SEC? Like, are they ever really going to get over that hump? Can they keep battling, or where are they going? 10-2 a couple years ago. Nico leaves. They go 8-5 this past year. So where are they going? Well, let's check out their schedule and kind of talk about it a little bit more. All right, take a sip of water. All right, week 1, we got Furman. As always, must play FCS schools to start the season. I get it. All right, week 2, they go to Georgia Tech. First matchup these two teams have had since 2017. They've played actually 33 times in the 1940s to the 1980s. So these two teams played a lot. They're kind of rivals back in the day. Tennessee right now 25-17 all time. Georgia Tech, a team that obviously last year started out undefeated. I think it was 8-0 before they kind of fell off towards the end of the year. This game is going to be in Atlanta. I may be going to it. I'm here in Atlanta. This seems like a great game to go to in week 2 in my backyard. The Georgia Tech home field shouldn't be that much of an issue for Tennessee, as somebody who's been to Bobby Dodd a couple times. But this will be interesting. This is definitely a who's who game. Tennessee definitely seems like they should be favored. They should probably win the physical matchup. They should definitely, for a team, Georgia Tech is going to be having Alberto Mendoza, Fernando's brother, be the quarterback, and Justice Haynes is going to be the running back for them as well, coming from Michigan. They've got some pieces, but I don't think this should be too much of an issue for Tennessee. If it is, the rest of the schedule gets real tough. Week 3, they play Kennesaw State, my alum. I'm an alum of Kennesaw State, so who will be taking Kennesaw State spread there. Whatever it is, go ahead and hammer it. I will be taking it. They've never played before. Kennesaw will be coming to fight. Who. Week 4, we got Texas. First time they've played since 1969. Texas 2-1 all time. Battle of the UTs, right? These two teams, I've seen it on Twitter. Texas and Tennessee Twitter going after each other. Who's the real UT? Who's got the better orange? Personally, I don't think there's anything worse than the Tennessee orange, but we'll find out. Neyland will be absolutely rocking for this game. I'd have no doubt about it. This is going to be early in the season. It's still in September. It's still going to be pretty warm, and I would assume this may get nighttime treatment. There's some really big games in week 4. I know Texas is playing Tennessee. Georgia plays Oklahoma. There's a couple other I'm probably just missing out on. But this has got nighttime potential written all over it. If not, 3:30, I wouldn't be mad at a noon either. But this seems like it would be really fun to watch at night. Arch Manning going to play Peyton's old school. Could be fun. Week 5, they got Auburn. First time since 2020, these two teams are matching up. Auburn has a 29-22 series lead. Back-to-back big home games for Tennessee. And so they have Texas the week before, and now they've got Auburn coming into town. I've said a lot of nice things about Auburn on this show. I think this is going to be a huge game because if I'm being honest, depending on what Tennessee has, again, we don't know who the quarterback's going to be really yet. Is Auburn going to be figured out? Is Tennessee going to be figured out? What's their records? Are they both 3-1? Are they both 4-0? Are they both 2-2? What does it look like for the Tennessee Volunteers and the Auburn Tigers at this point? Because these are two teams that are probably going to be in the middle of the SEC predictions, but can, with this game, kind of edge themselves up a little bit. So I'm interested to see who will win this game. And it's huge that Tennessee gets this one at home after having to play Texas the week before. Then they go on the road at Arkansas. 3rd year in a row they're playing Arkansas. How will Tennessee be after these back-to-back home games when they got to go on the road? Not thinking too highly of Arkansas this season. Going to have to see something fun out of Arkansas before I start believing back in their football program. But Arkansas did beat Tennessee last time they came there. So I really do think, again, Auburn's going to be a good team. I obviously think Texas is going to be a good team. How will those matchups be after you play two really physical and good teams, in my opinion, to have to go on the road to play Arkansas? And then the week after, you play Alabama. So they've got three of four games at home in a really crucial stretch between late September, early October. They beat Bama the last 2 times when they've played in Neyland Stadium. That's huge because obviously Neyland Stadium is one of the biggest home field advantages you can have in the sport of college football, and they get 3 big games, like I said, right there in their home stadium. 3rd Saturday in October. I don't know. This is going to be one. I believe Georgia and Bama play in week 6. So this is directly after Georgia's going to be playing Bama, I think. You can fact check me, but this is a big one. Tennessee's got they've got to be able to hold that down, that they can beat Alabama when they're playing in Neyland Stadium. That's got to be something that they can hold on to, and let's see if they do. And then after that, week 8, they got at South Carolina. First time since 2023 they're going to play South Carolina. Tennessee is 27-11 all time against South Carolina. Not sure how South Carolina is going to be on the road, or not sure how South Carolina is going to be, but on the road in South Carolina is a tough place to be. It seems like a sneaky SEC Network night game that they'll throw on there, so we will see what happens there. Lenore Sellers, Dylan Stewart, Nick Harbor, those guys, they're names for South Carolina. They can give you problems. What's Tennessee going to be like after this stretch? That whole stretch before there is with Texas, Auburn, Alabama. How are they coming out of that? Because that's going to show how they can get to South Carolina before they got a big bye week. Then they have a bye week, and then they have Kentucky. If I was, this is a late bye week. Last week of October is their bye week. I really wish if I was a Tennessee fan, I'd wish we have a bye week before Kentucky, but that's just me. They've won 5 straight against Kentucky, 85-26 all time. Should be fine for this game. This game's at home in Neyland Stadium, kind of a rivalry game. They used to play at the end of the season a lot back in the SEC East days. Good thing they got a bye right there, but if I was them, I'd want to buy before that. Anyway, then after that, they go to Texas A&M. First time since 2023 these two teams are playing. 4th time as SEC opponents. A&M's 2-1 in those games as SEC opponents. Two teams that could be in really similar spots at this point in the season, okay? If I'm looking at Tennessee's schedule, and if I'm giving a guess here on March 24th about what they'll be when they get to that Texas A&M game. Wait, how many games do they play? 4, 8, 9. 7-2. They could be 7-2. So this is a big spot because A&M seems like a team that will probably be 7-2 too. And they got to go on the road to Kyle Field. Should be an interesting one. These SEC matchups, I've said it before, they're fun. They're just fun to look at because I just feel like I'm going to be glued. And then week 12, but their 11th game, they play LSU. First time since 2022. Final home game of the season for Tennessee, and it's a big one against their old head coach, Lane Kiffin. You remember when they threw the mustard bottles and the golf balls at him? This is a big matchup for both teams. Let's say Tennessee wins that game. They're 8-2. All of a sudden, they've got a chance. They're looking maybe at a playoff spot against Lane Kiffin at home. And it's their final home game of the season, senior night. Whew, interesting. And in week 13, they go to Vanderbilt. Need revenge after last year. Hard. They need some hardcore revenge because there's no Tennessee fan has ever grown up thinking that they need to fear Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt has put the fear into him, or maybe it was just Diego Pavia, but something's got to get figured out there. It cannot become tradition in Knoxville to lose to Vanderbilt. I would think most Tennessee fans would agree. That's not a tradition they want. All right, and that is Tennessee's schedule review. All right, next one up, we're going to talk about Miami. Miami's 2026 schedule. Now these aren't as fun to talk about, the ACC schedules. But we're going to talk about them because Miami seems like a team that's going to be relevant in 2026. And, I'm just trying to mix it up. Talked a lot of SEC schedules. Wanted to kind of talk about Miami. Miami just, a little briefing right here. Darian Mintz is obviously a huge pickup. They've done really well in the portal. They just went to the national championship. They've kind of proved all the doubters wrong, including me. And this schedule sets up really nice for them because, I'm a person that, will shit on the ACC because I think it's fair. There's some names on this list of this schedule that they have. There's some names when you look at the teams, but those teams aren't really known to be good, but there's some names. So it has an interesting storyline to it, but that's about it. Let's pull up the schedule. All right, week 1, they go to Stanford. Now, another interesting about Miami's schedule is they don't play a game on Saturday until week 4. which is nuts. But they go to Stanford in week 1 on a Friday night. Second time they've ever played. Last year they played in Miami, one of those god-awful camo whatever jerseys. Those were hideous. But Miami smoked them. Two schools that couldn't be more dissimilar, more disalike. I'm terrible with vocabulary. But Miami should win this game on the road in Stanford, though. So who knows? Week 2, they got Florida A&M. Got to play your in-state rivals. Should win that one as well. Week 3, they go to Wake Forest on a Friday night. Just the 13th matchup ever between Wake Forest and Miami. Wake Forest has not beat Miami since 1944. So that's a staggering statistic. And if I had to put money on it right now, I don't think they're going to win. But Wake Forest did have a okay season last year, so you don't want to overlook them. But that's also the biggest game they've got in those first 4. So I don't think they will. They'll be somewhat close to home. Not like last year when they didn't leave the state of Florida till like November. They definitely are leaving the state of Florida multiple times early in the season. And in week 4, they got Central Michigan. It's their first Saturday game. They played once in 2019. Miami won that game, obviously. And in week 5, they play Clemson on the road at Clemson. First time since 2023 these two teams are playing. Fun stat, they're both it's 7-7 series. So Miami's won 7 times, Clemson's won 7 times. Could Dabo pull off this upset? Could Dabo Swinney pull off this upset over Miami? Would it be that far-fetched to think? I mean, it's at home. It's in Clemson. I always thought Clemson was a different city, but it's Clemson, South Carolina. That'd be bad if you're Miami and if you're not past that first stretch before you get to this bye week the next week and you've lost a game. Ooh, don't want to be there. I know you snuck in there at 10-2 last year. I don't think you need to be thinking that you can lose one of those first 5 games. And then week 6, they got a bye week. Week 7, they play Florida State. Miami obviously has won the last 2. Who hasn't won the last 2 games against Florida State they've played? I mean, if you have lost one of the last 2 games you've played against Florida State, it's brutal. Bye week is big. They get a bye week before this after going to Clemson, getting play back home in Miami. Is SSU going to be decent? Is Florida State going to be decent? Who knows? I don't think you can really put money on that. I know. Think about last year. Everybody coming into last year, they would beat Alabama. Everyone's like, "Oh, FSU's back," and then they weren't back. So it's hard to gauge what you think Florida State will be. They got Ashton Daniels, the quarterback from Auburn, who was also at Stanford before that, coming to play. Gus Malzahn is no longer there, so Mike Norvell's calling the plays. They really don't want him there. They just can't fire him, yada, yada, yada. Again, names. Clemson, Florida State, those are names. But Miami should not lose to either one of them. Pitt, they got Pitt in week 8. Miami won in Pitt last year on the last week of the season in the cold. So, how serious are we taking Pitt at this point? Is this a must-win game? Everybody remembers their coach last year saying that their Notre Dame game wasn't a must-win. Who knows if this Miami game will be a must-win at this point. But in all seriousness, if Miami is rolling, if Miami's undefeated, this could be, a bit of a sleeper game. Maybe you're looking ahead to whatever you've got on the schedule, Notre Dame in a couple weeks. But I just don't know how to serious take Pittsburgh right now. They're not like a college football staple or anything like that. So it's just a little difficult. It's a little difficult for me. All right, week 8 they've got at week 9 they go to North Carolina. Another name, Bill Belichick. First time they're playing since 2023. UNC has actually beat Miami 5 straight times. Could this be Bill Belichick's big win? Could this be the one that Bill Belichick gets to, he's got a top 10 Miami team coming into town. His North Carolina Tar Heels are sitting at 5-3, 4-4. And they just beat Miami right before Miami has to play Notre Dame at Notre Dame. That'd be something, wouldn't it? Bill Belichick got his statement win against Miami, just like how the New England Patriots used to beat Miami Dolphins all the time. That'd be something to keep your eye on. And then week 10, they go to Notre Dame. I've talked about this game, probably going to be one of the games of the year. Catholics versus convicts, the whole thing. Back-to-back road games for Miami, which is tough to go to North Carolina and go home and then go all the way back up to South Bend, Indiana. Both teams, though, realistically should be undefeated at this point. I know I keep asking, can Miami lose one of these games? They realistically shouldn't. They're probably better and maybe favored by, at the very little 6 to 7 points on each of these games. And they'll go to Notre Dame and probably be not favored for the first time if I had to guess. These teams should both be undefeated when this game happens. If one of these teams is not undefeated, it's going to be it's going to be a must-win for them. But I'm going to you can't really assume much, and it's March, but Miami should be undefeated when they play this game against Notre Dame. 100%. And then they play Duke at home in Week 11, playing their old head coach, Manny Diaz, defending ACC champion Manny Diaz, and also Darian Mensah revenge game. His old school, Duke. They just plucked Darian Mensah out of Duke, and now Duke's coming in, and the Duke's got their old head coach that they fired back in the day. Man, how that's going to be cinema, huh? Let's say Miami just beat Notre Dame. Is this the sleeper spot? Manny Diaz coming for it all. Duke, any teammates that are still left that play with Darian Mensah coming for his throat. That's something to think about. Week 12, they got Virginia Tech. Miami's won 5 straight games against Virginia Tech. This is the James Franklin era, though, of Virginia Tech. What's Virginia Tech going to be like this year? That's something we'll have to talk about eventually. But, if you look at this schedule, again, realistically, Miami's going to be favored in every game they play except for Notre Dame. If Virginia Tech and James Franklin find some life in the ACC and are able to get rolling, this could be an interesting late season matchup that we're not really talking about right now. But when we get to late October, early November, we're going to go, Week 12, Virginia Tech goes to Miami, and the winner gets first place in the ACC standings. Something to think about. And then they finish off the season with Boston College at home. So 3 straight home games in the season. That's huge for them, especially that time of the year. First time playing Miami since 2011 for Boston College, which is wild. They've been in the ACC for a pretty long time, I believe since 05 or something like that. But these two teams don't play a lot for ACC. Or no, first time they're playing in Miami since 2011. So Miami's played Boston College a couple times in Boston or wherever Boston College is. But Miami is first time they're playing in Miami since 2011. I believe they've only played twice since then. So this should be a good finish to the season for Miami. I hate that there's schools like Miami that don't have end of season rivals, like a Georgia Tech or a Florida State or a South Carolina Clemson. Why aren't those a thing? Why does Miami not have I don't know, but it's different. It's different every year. They play a different team at the end of the season. Those teams that play different teams at the end of the season every year, that blows my mind. You don't even have a real rivalry week. Anyway, all right, my next subject. So I've been talking about this team a little negatively here and there throughout the entirety of the time I've been doing this show. And I just wanted to have a segment on them, Nebraska. So just to start off here, a lot of times people talk about blue blood programs. And everyone always throws Nebraska in there. And I know I'm only 26 years old. So I decided I was going to do some research on Nebraska and why they're a blue blood, okay? And I went kind of far back a little bit. I went back to the 40s and 50s, and there wasn't much accomplished there. But then I, was given grace. I was like, okay, 40s, 50s, whatever. So then I went to 1970. And from 1970 to 2001, Nebraska was ranked every week of the college football season. Maybe not every week, but they were ranked every year. I just kind of made up every week, but it sounds right. They were really good. They won national championships in 1970, 1971, 1994, 1995, and 1997. Now say what you want. National championships were just kind of claimed back then, but that's 3 and 4 years in the 90s, and then back-to-back in the 70s. It's huge. They had 70 weeks at number 1 during that time frame. They're 8th all-time in wins at 932. So they've got more wins than the team I root for, Georgia football. They've had guys like Tommy Frazier, Mike Rozier, who won the Heisman at running back there. Eric Crouch, who won the Heisman at quarterback there. Like, they've had some really big names, and it makes sense. They were a blue blood, stamped approval. Nebraska is a blue blood program from the 70s to 2000 with all that recognition right there. I've stamped it. You have my approval. I get it. And then in 2011, they joined the Big Ten. They had Bo Pelini as the head coach, who a lot of people should remember, but he had some really good teams. He won a lot of games there in Nebraska, a lot of 9-10 win seasons, which, back in the day used to be pretty good. Had good QBs like Taylor Martinez. I remember watching that guy in the Big Ten championship game. I remember him. He was electric. And then Bo Pelini decided to step down, or he left, whichever one happened. I can't remember. And then they hired a guy named Mike Riley from Oregon State. And he had one good season in his 3, but in 2017 he fell off. He went 4-8. They got rid of him. And then this is where everything started to go bad for Nebraska. So they were 4-8 in 2017. And then they hired Scott Frost, the UCF National Championship head coach, Scott Frost. He went 4-8, 5-7, 3-5 COVID year, 3-9. So that 4-8, 5-7, 3-5, and 3-9. And pause for a second. They kept him for another year, and he went 1-2, and then they were like, "All right, you're out. You're out." I mean, I don't know. I don't know how the maybe I could get after the COVID year because you don't know COVID's COVID. But then, year 4, you're 3-9, and this guy still got to hang around for, quarter of another season. That's crazy. That is crazy. So anyway, then they bring in Matt Rule. Matt Rule in his 3 seasons at Nebraska is 5-7, 7-6, and 7-6. Matt Rule just got extended as the head coach in Nebraska because they were scared that he would go to Penn State or maybe any of these other million jobs that opened up. Matt Rule's career records at schools: 28-23 at Temple, 19-20 at Baylor, and 19-19 at Nebraska. So overall, he's 66-62 as a head coach. He is 66-62 as a head coach. I'm just pointing things out here, okay? Just pointing facts, all right? And now we think of Nebraska as the program they are now. They just lost Dylan Raiola, who decided he wanted to go be a backup at Oregon other than come back and play for Nebraska. Then they try to recruit a guy named Kenny Minchie out of Notre Dame, their backup, and they get him, and then he decides he wants to go to Kentucky. I know NIL's got money and all that, but Nebraska, we just talked about it. Nebraska's supposed to be a blue blood. Kentucky is a blue blood in basketball. And now they've got a guy named Anthony Colandrea. Did I say it right? Don't know. UNLV quarterback. They're basically on their third choice at quarterback. Not good. Not good. Okay, and just some other things I've talked about. So now you go, okay, Matt Rule, well, maybe put it together. Everybody talks about third-year Matt Rule because Baylor's third year was really good. Temple's third year was really good. No one talks about how bad he was as a head coach in the NFL. Recruiting rankings for Nebraska. In 2022, they were 41st, and I believe that was Scott Frost last year. So then in 2023, they were 25th, and I think that's right when Matt Rule took the job. That was probably his first recruiting class. 2024, 18th. Getting better. 2025, they were 22nd. So not too bad. Now, in 2026, this year, so this portal class, or this recruiting class that we just had, that's this year's freshmen, Nebraska was 103rd. 103rd. That's a problem. That's a problem, people. So, his portal rankings, 37th this year, 2026, 13th in 2025, 2024, 49th, 2023, 28th. So, he's had his worst recruiting class and his second worst portal class, and he's heading into his fourth year as the coach at Nebraska. Just seems like a problem to me. Seems like a problem. Nebraska's got to find an identity. They're going to need to find something. They've got to become elite at something. Let's look at the defense. In 2023, with Matt Rule, they were 9th in the country at defense. In 2024, they were 14th in the country at defense. And in 2025, they were 38th in the country at defense. So they went backwards. Again, just like the recruiting, just like the portal, went backwards. Their offense in 2025 was 80th. Their 2024 was 93rd. And in 2023, it was 112th. So they have no offense. They just lost their two top options at quarterback. They're in a tough conference. And this has not been said, but I will say it. Matt Rule was a bit of a clown. Just going to say it out loud. His antics are a little clowny. Okay? He makes TikToks. He's just not doing stuff that I would want my head coach to do. And you think it's going to get better this year? Maybe this quarterback comes in and he's something. Yeah, well, they've got to play Indiana, Oregon, Washington, Ohio State, and Iowa. And I think all 5 of those teams are better than Nebraska. So, at best, when has Nebraska ever in the last 15 years, maybe 15 is strong, last 10 years, won a game that they weren't supposed to win? I don't see Nebraska going up right now. Nebraska is going down. And I just told you all these things that Matt Rule is doing wrong. Everything seems to be going backwards. He can't retain his players. He's not getting better at anything. Everything seems to be getting worse. Nebraska football is in a tough spot. And, I wanted to talk about it because I just find it wild that it seemed like Nebraska was catching momentum, and now they've lost all the momentum. And everyone told me Matt Rule was supposed to be this really good coach, and I'm looking at the stats, and they're just not backing it up. So, Nebraska, I hope things work out for you. Not really. I don't really care, but I wanted to talk about that. Nebraska football going backwards. All right. Finish up the show here. Teams that I wish were good at college football. Now, this is kind of just after watching the March Madness and seeing the teams in March Madness. Who do I want to hitch my wagon to, and be like, wow, I wish this team could be good at the sport that I enjoy watching all the time. So this is just a list, and not all these teams are that bad at football, but these teams aren't good at football right now. They're not good at football right now. All right, first up, Arkansas. I wish Arkansas was better at football. Since 2012, when Brett Bielema was head coach, they were 69 and 103. They're the second worst team in the SEC since the college football playoff era started, record-wise. Thank God they got basketball. There's been 4 straight Sweet 16s, I think. Look, Woo Pig Sooie is a great chant. I think that's elite. I don't even know an Arkansas fan. I've never met in my life an Arkansas football fan or an Arkansas fan in general. So I don't really have any ties where I think I would get annoyed by the Arkansas fan base. So that's one reason I wish they were kind of good at football. I remember Darren McFadden. That was fun. It just seemed like when Sam Pittman got hired, it was such a fun hire, and then they went 9-4 and they were ranked high. But it's just these teams you don't see a lot, right? And these teams are bottom of the barrel, and Arkansas has just been so forgettable. This past season, they fired Sam Pittman. They had Bobby Petrino as head coach. Their offense was putting up 1,000 points a game, but they were losing. They went 2-10. They were just a forgettable team. No one watched Arkansas. So I hope for Arkansas's sake that they can kind of find it within them a little bit, all right? Because it can be fun if Arkansas is good, but they're not ever really that good, and they haven't been good in a long time. And I'm talking good. When I'm talking about these teams, I'm talking about making the playoff. Like, or at least being able to say, like, oh my God, we only played the playoff. And have an option to not play a bowl game. Like if you wanted to do that, not because you can't make a bowl game. All right, second team, West Virginia. Now, West Virginia is not really in the March Madness right now. They're not really good at basketball right now. But since 2012, they're 92-82, so not as bad as Arkansas. They've done okay in the Big 12, but I want Big East West Virginia back. I'm talking Tavon Austin. I'm talking Geno Smith, those gray jerseys. I mean, in 2005 and 2007, they won 11 games 3 years in a row. Remember when they scored like 70 points against Clemson in the Fiesta Bowl or the Sugar Bowl, whichever one, Orange Bowl, whichever one that was? They were playing in all types. They were playing in those games like every year. West Virginia was a team you rooted for. The Pat McAfee West Virginia days. This just seemed like a team that it's easy to root for. I know my friend Justin went to a recruiting visit back in high school. I remember thinking that would be cool if he went to West Virginia. Like, West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home country roads. I mean, who hates West Virginia? Most people can't even point to West Virginia on a map, okay? And I know they brought back Rich Rodriguez, and maybe they got to build it together. And they're in the Big 12, so it's going to be tough. But the Mountaineers, I used to love playing with them on college football back in the day. I just think it'd be cool if West Virginia could find their way back to excellence in college football. Maybe bring back Big East. What's wrong with that? All right, next team, Purdue. Now, Purdue, since 2012, is 58-107. Look, I don't think I've never seen Purdue. We talked about it. Jeff Brom had a couple good teams before, but no one's ever really seen Purdue be really good at football. Drew Brees had a couple good teams back in the day, but I'm talking like I think they only have 2 10-win seasons ever. Could you imagine if Purdue, which is in the same state as Indiana, somehow found their Kurt Signetti? Would we all of a sudden just see billions of Purdue fans everywhere? Would that be a thing? What would it be like if we had to act like Purdue was a threat? Nobody would know how to act. It would just be something. We never thought we'd see Indiana do it. I'm just saying, what if? What if we saw Purdue become a threat in college football? Would that be something? Imagine. No one's ever seen it. So I'm here to say, I wish it happens one day. I hope it happens one day. Because these stories of teams like that, we need more of them. Okay? And I don't know what Purdue's got to do. Maybe they're just stuck with basketball for the rest of their lives, but that'd be something. Arizona is my next one. Really good at basketball. Since 2012, 81-88. 2 of the last 3 years have been pretty solid for Arizona. But here's the thing about Arizona. 3 years ago, they had a really good season, and then Jed Fish leaves to go to Washington. You're telling me Washington, and no disrespect, you're telling me Washington is that much better of a job than Arizona? Like, you're telling me it's just a straight-up better job than Arizona? You can't be a stepping stone school to a team like Washington. That cannot happen, Arizona. You had a couple good teams in the Pac-12 back in the day. The Big 12, we haven't really seen them all put it together. They had Ted McMillan. They've got Noah Fafento, or however you say his name, at quarterback. So hopefully they can get it going, because it's just another team, and they're a little bro right now. I mean, Arizona State's big bro in the state, and I mean, Arizona legitimately in my lifetime has never been a threat in college football. So these are teams that I just want to see be good at college football, because I see them good at college basketball. I think, man, it'd be cool if these fan bases were involved. More fan bases, the better, right? All right, next team, North Carolina. Now, this one is just because I want to see it happen with Bill Belichick. You in North Carolina since 2012 is 93-85. Again, specific just for now. Could you imagine the story we would have if Bill Belichick and Bobby Petrino put together a team that was competing for the playoffs and was competing for an ACC championship, and we had to sit there and talk about it, and College Game Day was bringing it up? Could you imagine if Bill Belichick was competing for a college football national championship? It'd be cinema. It'd be absolute cinema. And this one's just for this year or for however long he's there. They've had good players come in and out of North Carolina. I really wanted them to be good a couple years ago, and Drake May was in that last year, and they kind of fell off after starting undefeated. It's fun to have these jerseys on TV. Everybody loves the North Carolina jerseys. They're obviously synonymous with basketball. So if they could just get football figured out, and maybe, if Bill Belichick doesn't work out, they'll just stop hiring old coaches. Mac Brown, Bill Belichick. Maybe they'll figure out a different strategy. Maybe that's what it'll be. And in my last team, Michigan State. Now, Michigan State has been good at football in recent memory. Since 2012, they're 101-72. They've made the college football playoff before. But the last 4 years, they're 18-30. Now, they've had some coaching problems. Mel Tucker, and then they gave Jonathan Smith a pretty short lease. But just feels right when Michigan State is a competitor in the Big Ten or in college football in general, because they just feel like the good underdog of the Big Ten. You know how like Indiana felt this year? Like when Michigan State could come in there and take the reins from Ohio State, or take the reins from Penn State, and take the reins from Michigan, like it just would feel good, like Sparty up. So I'm rooting for Michigan State to figure it out with Pat Fitzgerald. Again, they're just an easy team to root for. Think of the Kirk Cousins days, the Connor Cook days. It just seems like again, I've met actually a couple Michigan State fans in my life, and they're enjoyable. And it just feels, I like that field. There's something about their field, and it's just like all white. The everything, the way it looks, I can't describe it. It says Big Ten. It feels like the Penn State Stadium. Like it feels like it's like barely taken care of, but there's just something about it. So Michigan State is the last team. I hope all those teams can figure out how to get good at college football. I want more teams involved. All right, and that'll wrap up episode 6 of CFB Only. Thank you guys for locking in with me for how long did we go here? Almost an hour, 52 minutes. Have a really good time talking college football. Appreciate you guys hanging out. If you're listening on podcast, make sure you subscribe on whatever you're listening to. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok. We'll be back next Tuesday, and